Have you ever replayed an argument in your head only to think of the perfect comeback hours later? Maybe while driving home, maybe in the shower, maybe right before falling asleep. Psychologists even have a name for this phenomenon. The French call it l'esprit de l'escalier, the staircase wit. It's that frustrating moment when your best response arrives only after you've already walked away. But here's the surprising part. The people who always seem to have the perfect comeback usually aren't faster thinkers. They're following a completely different set of psychological rules. And once you understand those rules, you'll stop trying to win arguments and start controlling them. Rule 1. Never reward the attack. Imagine someone says, "Wow, you're not very smart, are you?" Your brain immediately treats that as a social threat. And here's something fascinating. Research has shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions involved in physical pain. That's why insults can hurt so much. Most people react instantly. They defend themselves, explain, argue,
raise their voice. But that's exactly what the other person wants, because every emotional reaction is proof that they successfully got under your skin. Instead, look at them. Smile. Then answer calmly, or don't answer at all. The less emotional reward they receive, the faster their motivation disappears. In psychology, behavior that isn't rewarded tends to fade over time. Sometimes the strongest comeback is refusing to feed the conflict. Rule 2. Make them hear their own words. Now, let's say a coworker jokes, "You're terrible at this." Most people immediately defend themselves, but confident people often do something different. They reflect the energy back. You could simply say, "Interesting. What made you decide to say that?" Notice what happened. Instead of defending yourself, you quietly move the spotlight onto them. Suddenly, everyone is thinking about their behavior, not yours. People often expect resistance. Questions make them explain themselves, and many insults sound surprisingly weak once someone has to justify them. The conversation changes without you ever raising your voice. Rule 3. Agree, then remove their power. Here's one of the oldest psychological tricks in communication. If someone says, "You're lazy," most people instantly disagree. But what if you answered, "Sometimes, yeah, I just try to spend my energy where it actually matters." Now, there's nothing left to attack. You didn't surrender. You redirected. Psychologists sometimes call this reducing psychological resistance. When you stop fighting every criticism, people lose the satisfaction of pushing against you. It's like trying to push open a door, only to realize it was never locked. Rule 4. Silence creates more pressure than words. Here's something most people never notice. The strongest people in difficult conversations usually speak
less. Think about interviews with people known for staying calm under pressure. When they're asked something provocative, they don't rush. They pause, just for a second. That tiny silence changes everything. Why? Because our brains hate uncertainty. When someone doesn't immediately react, the other person's mind starts filling in the blanks. Did I go too far? Why aren't they upset? Did that even work? Ironically, their own imagination creates more pressure than any comeback ever could. Rule 5. Watch for the trap. Not every argument is actually about what you said. Sometimes people quietly replace your words with something more extreme. You say, "I think people need better work-life balance." They answer, "So you're saying nobody should work hard?" Notice what happened? They didn't respond to your idea. They responded to a completely different one. Psychologists refer to this as a straw man argument. Instead of defending yourself against something you never said, stay calm. Simply say, "That's not my point. Here's what I actually said." In one sentence, you've exposed the trick without getting dragged into it. The biggest secret. Here's the twist almost nobody talks about. The people with the sharpest comebacks usually don't need them very often. Because confidence isn't shown by having the perfect line.
It's shown by deciding which battles aren't worth your attention. That's why the calmest person in the room often has the most influence. Not because they're louder, not because they're more aggressive, but because they control the only thing that truly matters, their own emotions. And that's incredibly difficult to manipulate. So the next time someone tries to embarrass you, don't rush to prove them wrong. Don't race to find the cleverest comeback. Pause. Smile. Think. Because the strongest response isn't the one that gets the biggest laugh. It's the one that shows they never got inside your head in the first place. And sometimes, the person who says the least wins the most.